Welcome back. So, we have a little bit of news incoming. At the top, pre-order Iron Fury tank squads. Makes sense given that we have the Battle of Kasserine Pass, even though one of these, maybe both, I don't know the year on the Achilles, but definitely the Erstats, uh, post-dates that battle. It's from the Bulge, but it'll fit in perfectly in Ardennes. So, let's look at what we're getting here. We're getting the M10 Achilles, it's a British tank destroyer, and the M10 Erstats, an attempt to mimic the Allied M10 Wolverine. So, what I want to look at before we go any further here is I want to see what's available down here. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. There isn't a high BR German tank available anymore. I mean, maybe there is in the shop here, but I wouldn't be able to see it because I might have it. But as I recall, they removed the Jagd Panther from the store, and I thought that they pulled the Panther A from the training battalion from the store back around the time of the merge. So Germany's lacking a high BR tank, and to be honest, this is probably one of the coolest tanks that you can get that was a real historic thing in the war that might show up as a premium vehicle. I mean, obviously they could come out with like a Tiger II eventually, and that would be really cool, but it's already in the tech tree and there's nothing different about it. It's like they could take the Tiger II Slaw from War Thunder and put it here, and effectively it's just a Tiger II. Which, don't get me wrong, power-wise that would be really strong, but I think that this has cool factor, because this is the Panther that they tried to disguise as an American vehicle, and even though, yeah, it is just a Panther, I think that makes it really, really cool. It's also, like I said, your only high-tier German premium tank option at the moment. Now, I find that a lot of the BR4 tanks are kind of hit or miss when it comes to Enlisted. It relies really heavily in the map that you get and your playstyle. So, for example, the Panther and the T-34, for example, like the T-34-85, they can punch through just about anything that they see. They might have to aim for weak spots, but more or less their gun can deal with everything that they can see. The problem that you run into with both of them is that your armor isn't actually that good, and there are lots and lots of ways to kill you. Whether it's Panzerfaust 60s that you get at BR3, other BR4 tanks, planes, you have to be very, very careful with your tank. It's very easy for it to be destroyed. But premium tanks in this game, when they can be used effectively, are phenomenal. And if we get more maps going forward, like the Ardennes, where they're more open and they're less cramped, then a lot of these tanks are going to perform better. Like if we get Manchuria for the Soviets, and you have like countryside in China, it's going to be much more effective than driving a tank in downtown Berlin. Likewise, if we get like battles on the Vistula, or if we get Operation Bagration, or if we get the push into Germany, and it's not all city fighting, and we actually get to fight some of the field battles, then these vehicles are going to be much more effective than they currently are. I mean, obviously you'll still be able to take them out with all the tools that you have now, but there's a difference between shooting a Panzerfaust out a window and having to actually use the sights on your Panzerfaust scaled up to like 100 meters because there's a tank parked out there on the other side of a field and you don't want to cross the field because he's going to shoot you. So, all of that is to say, the power level of this today is mediocre. I think a lot of the medium tanks in the game, as long as you're careful with them, they get the job done, but tanks at high BR are very misleading. They're really only effective if the other team decides not to deal with them. But when they are effective, they are incredibly effective. And on top of that, tanks are just really fun and really cool. So in addition to that, we're getting the Achilles, and the Achilles is basically a tank destroyer with the Sherman Firefly gun. And well, actually, let me look just to make sure that I'm not making shit up. I'm pretty sure it's the Sherman Firefly gun. Yeah, 17 pounder. See, and that's the issue, right? If this is a BR4 tank, which it should be, this might actually be pretty good. If it's a BR5 tank, see, the thing is, if it's a BR5 tank, you're better off just getting the Firefly because the Firefly actually has a roof. See, this is a proper tank destroyer. It's basically like having a Wolverine with a different gun. And because of that, you have no roof. So grenades, Molotovs, whatever, they're going to kill you. Infantry jumping up on top of you and shooting down into you, it's going to kill you. I think that it would have been smart for them to give some of these tank destroyers their little covers, because a lot of them have either sheet metal or cloth covers that can be mounted on top of here. Now, obviously the cloth wouldn't help very much, but if they had a sheet metal cover or if you had a battlefield modification on one of these, then that would be really cool. It would at least help stop infantry just getting on top and, shooting you with an SMG or tossing a grenade on the roof. Molotovs would still probably get to you because it's a liquid. But they're cool. If you're interested in playing high BR Germany and you want to play tanks, I think the air stats actually is going to be a pretty decent pickup. Just understand that you're not invulnerable by any stretch. There's tons and tons and tons of things that can kill you. And the thing is, you have the kind of armor that even the crappy M9 bazooka can kill you. So, again, you have to be very careful. The Achilles, see, and here's the issue. They come bundled together. The Achilles I look at as just icing on the cake. If you were to pick this up, it's cool that you're going to get the Achilles. But the reason you pick it up is for the air stats, because the air stats is actually going to be useful and the Achilles is not. If it's BR4 and you get to bring it to Japan to fight the Japanese, then sure. You're definitely getting some benefit there. But most of the Japanese tanks are thin enough that you'd be better off just playing a Jumbo, which is already BR4 and has enough armor that you can kill it as the Japanese, but you have to be more precise. On top of this, we get a cool German tanker portrait. I'm very heavily reminded of the old war movie Battle of the Bulge, of the tank commander from that. I mean, he wears a different uniform and he looks a little bit different, but that's what I think of when I see this. And that alone kind of makes me want this, but to be honest, I'm probably not going to pick it up. The Tread name decorator is pretty cool too, but I already have the Panther A from the Kummendorf, I think it's Kummendorf, training division, and I also have the Jagdpanther, so it's really cool, but it's not something that I'm going to pick up with a pre-order. Maybe when it's on sale and it's an individual vehicle, I would look at it just for coolness factor. But if I was a new player, let's say with the Steam release, yeah, I would seriously take a look at it. I don't think you can go wrong with the Airstat Sim 10, even as a pre-order. Like if you were a tank or if you're coming from like War Thunder and tanks are your jam, it's probably not going to be a bad pickup. Just understand the vulnerabilities. So moving on from there, we'll cover this as well since there's a little update that came through today. They've reduced the visual recoil of the AVS-36, which I appreciate. The AVS-36 is an awesome gun. They fixed a visual bug where experience wasn't credited properly after battles until client restarts. The T20E1, they moved the camera. The stability while aiming has been improved for all of the grease guns, the M2 Hyde, and the Browning M19A-10s. Well, the normal one and the A1, not the A2. And they fixed ground-related visual artifacts. So, nothing huge, but visual recoil reductions are always nice. I guess the last thing we will look at, the pre-order bundle is $59.99, so you could basically get a whole game for it, but you are getting 2 premium vehicles. They look cool. It's a little bit steep, but it's kind of the way Enlisted has always been priced, so if you think it's worth it, go for it. If you're a newer player, I think it has more value. If you're an older player and you have other tanks already available, I might wait for a sale. As per usual, get out there, kick ass, take names, and win your games.